Marisol lifts the voodoo doll toward her chest. Her fingers tremble slightly over the stitched face, each thread a memory, each button eye a symbol of pain. She stares down at it, whispering Isabella's name. "For you, my friend," she murmurs, and drives the first needle into the doll's heart. Her breath catches a tiny shudder in her chest. This was the first of 100 symbolic pricks, each representing a wound inflicted by Don Thiago's cruelty. Each needle is deliberate, a ritual of remembrance and vengeance. Marisol closes her eyes, recalling the flashback of Isabella laughing in the courtyard, her curls bouncing, her tiny hand clasping hers as they spun in shared delight. Then the memory twists. The step-parents' cruel commands, the lash of authority, the sudden collapse of Isabella's small frame under Don Thiago's domination. Marisol remembers reaching for her friend, desperate, restrained by guards, powerless to prevent the cruelty. She had screamed silently, her body shaking, tears blinding her eyes, as Isabella whispered, "Marisol, promise me. You'll remember." Her grip tightens on the doll. The first needle sinks into the fabric, and she whispers, "I remember, Isabella. I remember everything." Don Thiago's voice cuts through her focus. "Marisol?" he snaps. "Why are you wasting time? Do as I command." Marisol opens her eyes. She smiles faintly, her calm unshakable. "Yes, master," she says softly. Her voice carries obedience, but her eyes betray the storm gathering beneath. She is no longer a mere instrument of his orders. She is patience, precision, and controlled fury incarnate. The second needle slides into the doll's left shoulder. She murmurs a memory, one where Isabella had leaned on her, trusting, innocent, unaware of the cruelty looming around them. The doll shudders in her hand, symbolic. Not real, but it carries weight as if Isabella herself is guiding her movements. Don Thiago paces behind her, sensing the subtle shift. "You will obey my orders as always," he insists, but the firmness in her voice and the steadiness of her hands make him pause. You must not test me," he adds, unease creeping into his tone. Raphael, a servant in the courtyard, watches with dull curiosity, unaware of the ritual forming before him. Marisol drives the third needle into the doll's left arm, murmuring another memory, the time Isabella had comforted her after a punishment, whispering that courage and patience were their secret weapons. The memory fuels her calm determination. The fourth needle pierces the doll's stitched leg, deliberate and unhurried. Each push is a vow, a promise of justice for her friend, a slow, controlled revenge that will unravel Don Thiago's control without a single outward act of aggression. She feels the weight of the 100 needles yet to come, a slow accumulation of retribution, ritualized and precise. Don Thiago's voice cracks slightly, irritation mingling with a sensation he cannot place. "Why do you hesitate?" he demands, noticing the subtle calm in her gaze. "Do you mock me?" Marisol tilts her head slightly, lips curved in a faint, unreadable smile. "I only remember," she whispers. Each needle now carries the memory of Isabella's laughter, her whispered trust, and the injustice that stole her life. She drives the fifth needle into the doll's back. Slow, deliberate, precise. Don Thiago glances again at the small figure in her hands. A creeping unease spreads through him, a sense that control is slipping. Unseen and intangible, a weight pressing against his authority. Marisol exhales softly. 1, 2, 3. "All for you, Isabella," she murmurs. She glances down at the voodoo doll again, fingers poised for the next needle. Steady and unyielding, the first prick is never the last. And the storm she carries is only beginning. She and Isabella. Both were childhood friends. She and Isabella had once raced through sunlit courtyards. Laughter spilling over flowers, hands brushing in carefree joy. "Bet you can't catch me," Isabella had called, curls bouncing, and Marisol had chased, breathless, smiling, but the innocence shattered. Don Thiago, cruel and imposing, appeared, seizing Isabella. Her protests faltered as she collapsed under his control. Marisol had tried to reach her, but guards pulled her back. "No!" She silently screamed as Isabella whispered a final plea. "Promise me. You'll remember." The flashback faded. Marisol's fingers tightened around the doll. Each needle now a symbol of vengeance intertwined with friendship lost and injustice endured. Marisol lifts the voodoo doll toward her chest. Her hands are steady now, confidence building with each passing moment. She drives the sixth needle into the doll's right shoulder, murmuring Isabella's name softly. Each puncture is a memory, a symbolic reclamation of the pain Don Thiago inflicted. She glances at the stepmother, who is pacing impatiently. "Why do you linger with that toy?" The stepmother snaps. "It helps me remember," Marisol says, her voice calm. "Remembering is the first step to honoring a friend." Don Thiago frowns. His gaze shifts from the doll to her face. "You dare look at me like that? You dare whisper to yourself?" Marisol tilts her head slightly, hiding the fire behind measured eyes. "I am merely recalling the past, nothing more," she says softly. Her voice is obedient on the surface, but the precision in her hands betrays her hidden purpose. The seventh needle slides into the doll's left leg. She murmurs another memory, the laughter shared with Isabella, the whispered secrets, the moments of trust that had been ripped away by cruelty. The doll becomes a vessel of silent defiance, each needle an invisible message that no one in the room can read. Don Thiago's hands tighten into fists. "Do you think this childish play frightens me?" "It teaches me patience," she replies, her voice calm. Her fingers hover over the next needle, steady as the rhythm of a heartbeat. Patience is power. Catalina, another servant, watches nervously from the corner. "Master, she is dangerous," she whispers. Don Thiago sneers. "Dangerous? She is nothing but a tool. A toy to be shaped and controlled. You will obey me, Marisol. That is your life." Marisol doesn't flinch. She drives the eighth needle into the doll's back. Her eyes never leave the stitched face. Each puncture brings a rush of memory, a flash of injustice, and a sense of control she never had under his orders. Valerio, carrying a bundle of papers, pauses mid-step. "Master, she looks different," he murmurs. Don Thiago snaps at him. "Focus on your work. Do not speak of her unless commanded." Raphael, observing from the courtyard, notices the subtle shift. Marisol's movements are deliberate, her calm demeanor radiating a quiet authority that unsettles even the master. He doesn't understand the ritual, the meaning, or the purpose, yet he senses the weight of her control. The ninth needle slides into the doll's right arm. Marisol murmurs softly, "For Isabella, for justice." Her voice is barely audible, but each word resonates with intention. Don Thiago flinches, a shiver passing through him. He cannot name it, but something in the room has changed. Marisol's gaze lifts briefly to his face. "I remember what you did," she says softly, almost to herself. "And every act of cruelty will be accounted for." The 10th needle finds the doll's head. She pauses, fingers hovering above the final placement. Don Thiago's chest tightens. "What are you planning?" he demands, but the question sounds hollow, even to him. Marisol smiles faintly, a secret held only in her silence. "Nothing you need to know, master. Only that balance must be restored." Her fingers curl around the next needle, poised for the 11th. Don Thiago glances at the doll again, a creeping unease spreading through him. Each puncture is invisible to others but tangible in its effect. His authority begins to feel fragile, his control slipping in ways he cannot name. Every needle is a memory, and every memory is a weight he cannot lift. Marisol lifts the voodoo doll toward her chest. Her fingers tighten around the stitched body as she presses the 11th needle into its side. The motion is quiet, controlled, and starkly purposeful. Don Thiago stands before her, waiting for a response to his earlier command. "You will deliver the messages to the traitors by nightfall," he orders. Marisol remains silent for a moment, her fingers still gripping the needle as she finishes the puncture. Only then does she lift her gaze. "I will carry your words," she replies softly, "just as I carry the truth." His eyes narrow. "Truth? You speak of truth while you play with cloth?" "It is not the doll I speak to," she answers. She turns her attention to the 12th needle, sliding it into the doll's right knee. Some things are remembered without words. His brows furrow. Authority begins to crack, not by force but by her poise. She does not argue, does not hesitate, does not fear. She simply remembers. Esperanza enters, carrying a tray. She watches Marisol quietly, her eyes darting between the needle and Don Thiago. Marisol, let me take over the duties. You look consumed. Marisol shakes her head slowly. This is not burden. It is promise. Don Thiago scoffs. Promise? A servant has no promises. You speak of things you cannot keep. Marisol presses the 13th needle into the doll's left arm. I keep what others throw away. Don Thiago instinctively steps back as if her words push him rather than her actions. For the first time, he notices the pattern of needles forming across the doll's body, strategic, symmetrical, intentional. There is meaning in every point? Where did you learn this foolishness? He asks, voice rising with a tension he never expected to feel toward her. I learned from the past, she answers. She lifts the 14th needle and holds it poised above the center seam of the doll's chest. Her eyes settle on him with calm defiance. And from those who were taken by it, his voice hardens. You speak of Isabella again. Marisol does not look away. I speak of what you destroyed. She sinks the needle into the center seam slowly, pushing it until the thread dimpled around the point. Don Thiago's breath hitching barely undetectable, yet Marisol sees it. She knows she has touched something no blade could reach. Valerio enters, documents in hand. Master, your signature is required. He stops mid-speech, noticing Don Thiago's posture, the tension in his shoulders, the stiffness in his breath. Are you well? Don Thiago snaps, I am fine. Marisol's eyes flick toward him, not to mock, but to measure. She presses needle 15 into the doll's forehead with small, meticulous pressure. Are you certain? She asks softly. His response stumbles. Do not question me. Marisol nods as if agreeing, but her calm is more oppressive than defiance. Then I will not question you, she says. I will simply continue. She reaches for needle 16. Her fingers moving with unwavering confidence she never possessed as a girl, confidence Isabella once shared with her. She remembers Isabella's laughter, she remembers her silence as she was dragged away. She remembers how Don Thiago had dismissed the life he took as if she were nothing. Now Marisol's vow becomes sharper than iron, every needle sinks deeper into memory, into justice, into a ritual he cannot command. Don Thiago watches, shaken not by injury, not by force, but by a courage that never needed to be loud. He once owned her silence. Now her quiet hands begin to own him. Marisol lifts the voodoo doll toward her chest. Needle 17 rests between her fingers. She presses its tip into the doll's left side with a slow, precise motion as if stitching fate itself. Catalina rushes into the room with hurried steps. Master, the traders are refusing your prices again, she announces. Don Thiago turns sharply, irritated. What do you mean refusing? They relied on me. Catalina shrugs helplessly. They say new buyers have offered more, and they question your reliability. He slams his palm onto the table. Reliability? I have never failed them. Marisol's eyes lift, quiet and piercing. She doesn't speak. She simply pushes the 18th needle into the doll's ribs, twisting slightly before letting her fingers glide away. Don Thiago feels something tighten inside his chest, not pain, but strain like a rope being pulled. He places a hand over his shirt instinctively. Marisol doesn't react outwardly, but her fingers curl around the 19th needle like she expected the response. Esperanza steps forward nervously. Master, perhaps you should rest. He snaps at her. I do not rest. I command. His voice cracks faintly. He looks toward Marisol, though he doesn't know why. Finish your task, then attend to the shipments. Marisol nods gently. I finish only when I remember enough. Catalina frowns. Remember? She speaks nonsense. No, Marisol replies softly, driving the 19th needle into the doll's spine. I speak of what you all fear to recall. Don Thiago stiffens at her words. I fear nothing. Marisol's hand embraces needle 20. She places it at the doll's lower back. You feared a child. You feared Isabella. His fist tightens. Do not speak her name again. Marisol presses the needle fully. You made silence her last breath. Catalina backs away, horrified by the shift in the room. Master, why does she still think of that girl? She is gone? You said it was resolved? Marisol lifts the 21st needle, her voice unwavering. Nothing is resolved when a life is thrown away. Don Thiago's face reddens with anger, but his words falter, stuck somewhere between memory and denial. She disobeyed, that is all. Marisol slides the needle into the doll's arm, and her tone hardens. She asked for freedom. You answered with punishment. His jaw clenches. Enough! Esperanza whispers to Marisol, please stop provoking him. Marisol's eyes remain fixed on Don Thiago. I provoke nothing, I only remember. She slides in needle 22. The rhythm of her actions is steady, unwavering, no matter his fear, no matter his command. Don Thiago tries to look away, but his gaze returns to the doll as if chained to it. You are trying to curse me, he mutters, trying to sound dismissive. Marisol corrects him quietly. Not curse, balance. He breathes unevenly. Why now? Why after all these years? The dead are patient, she replies, her fingertips brushing the 23rd needle. But they do not forget. Catalina steps back farther. Master, what if she? She is nothing but a servant, he barks, yet the conviction in his voice fades. Marisol leans the doll gently against her chest, her embrace protective rather than sinister. She whispers as she places the 23rd needle into the doll's throat. You silenced her. Now we speak for her. Don Thiago opens his mouth to retort, but no words come out. His jaw trembles slightly, as if some part of him remembers too. The room feels heavy with unspoken truth, not supernatural, but undeniable. Marisol lifts the 24th needle. Her eyes meet his with quiet promise. He buried Isabella's voice, but Marisol now digs it out, one needle at a time. Marisol lifts the voodoo doll toward her chest. The 24th needle glints between her fingers. She presses it slowly into the doll's stomach, a measured thrust of memory, not malice. Valerio enters immediately with trembling urgency. Master, the traitors declined your letter again. They said you no longer honor agreements. Don Thiago's eyes widen with disbelief. They dare question me? I built their trade? His voice cracks with anger, but the frustration lingers behind it like a shadow he cannot name. Marisol picks up the 25th needle and holds it poised above the doll's right side. Her voice is calm, almost gentle. No one keeps loyalty when they are treated as disposable. Don Thiago snaps toward her. You speak about her again. You speak of that foolish girl as if she mattered. Marisol presses the needle in with slow pressure. When someone matters to one person, that is enough to break a tyrant. His chest tightens again. He places a hand against the desk for support, but refuses to acknowledge the strain. Do not imply she was important. She was insignificant. Nothing more than a servant who lacked discipline. Marisol takes needle 26, tapping it against the doll's arm. Insignificance is defined by those who cannot see worth. Esperanza gasps quietly, curling her hands nervously. Master, she's provoking you. No, Marisol corrects softly. I am reminding him. She sinks the needle into the doll's palm. She touched others' lives with kindness, a rarity here. Catalina whispers under her breath. Master, why do you react to a doll? Ignore her, but Don Thiago cannot ignore it. His eyes flicker again toward the doll, as though it holds a power he refuses to believe in, yet cannot dismiss. Valerio's voice shakes. Master, what if she is doing something dangerous? Don Thiago forces himself straighter, hiding his crackling fear. She is nothing. A servant performing childish superstition. Marisol lifts the 27th needle. Children often see truth before adults corrupt it. She drives it slowly into the doll's upper spine. Don Thiago inhales sharply, his breath catching. I feel nothing, he insists, but he doesn't sit, doesn't blink, as though movement might worsen whatever he refuses to name. Marisol reaches for needle 28, her control absolute. You once called Isabella a child. You said she did not understand discipline, he flares. She disobeyed. She laughed at work, ignored order, questioned me. And that terrified you, Marisol says calmly. Because joy is disobedience to cruelty. His hand slams the desk. Papers shake. She had no right. Marisol presses the 28th needle into the doll's rib cage, slow as a heartbeat. Even slaves have rights, master. You silenced hers. His face pales. You think I regret anything? I keep order? Marisol takes the 29th needle. You kept fear. You broke what you could not intimidate. Catalina murmurs. She's speaking poison, Marisol answers without looking up. No, poison is when truth is hidden. She pushes the 29th needle into the doll's calf. Don Thiago gasps quietly, unaware his own body mimics tension with every puncture. She holds the 30th needle. Her fingers caress the doll's head. Isabella did not die because she failed. She died because she believed she could be more. His voice shakes. She was nothing. Marisol's eyes rise, steady and merciless. She lives because you cannot erase memory, and I am here to remember for her. She drives the 30th needle into the doll's forehead. Don Thiago steps back as though struck by a force beyond his understanding but entirely of his conscience. He killed her body, but Marisol now resurrects her memory needle by needle, truth by truth. Marisol lifts the voodoo doll toward her chest. The 31st needle rests between her fingers, thin yet heavy with intention. She presses the tip directly into the doll's left shoulder, slow and unbroken, as though stitching the past into the present. Valerio rushes into the room again, breath unsteady. Master, the traders refuse to pick up shipments. They say your agreements are void. They want nothing delivered from your estate. Don Thiago's voice cracks. Void? They cannot void what they owe. Valerio lifts a trembling paper. They claim your reputation is stained. They say too many slaves have vanished under your hand, too many whispers. Don Thiago reaches out, snatching the paper, but his grip falters. He crumples the document unevenly, hands shaking not from effort, but from something gnawing beneath his skin. Marisol's eyes drift back to the doll. Needle 32 glides between her fingers. Reputation is fragile, she says softly. It breaks faster than bones. He snaps his glare toward her. You speak like a philosopher, but you know nothing. Marisol slides the needle into the doll's thigh. I know the value of a whisper. I know how fear spreads when someone refuses to forget. Esperanza clutches her apron nervously. Master, perhaps the rumors. Rumors? He interrupts, voice straining. Rumors are made by fools and cowards. Marisol holds needle 33, studying it before touching it to the doll's stitched chest. Rumors are made by silence, she replies. By those who see but cannot speak. They grow until they become truth. Catalina crosses her arms tightly, stepping beside Don Thiago. She threatens you with voodoo tricks. Punish her. Don Thiago looks at Marisol, but punishment does not come. His hand lifts halfway, then drops as if invisible weight keeps it from striking. He struggles to speak. You will stop this. This ritual. Marisol presses the needle into the doll's chest, as if rejecting his command without saying so. You fear what you cannot control, his breath catches. Fear? I fear nothing. I own this house. She picks up needle 34, tapping its tip against the doll's cheek. You owned her too. That did not save you from memory. He stumbles backwards slightly, not physically harmed, but cornered by words he cannot deny. Valerio speaks quietly, almost afraid of hearing his own voice. Master, maybe the traders know about Isabella? Don Thiago whirls on him. They know nothing. If they knew, they would accuse? Marisol slides the needle in with slow pressure. No, they do not accuse yet. They wait. Rumors only destroy when they are ready. Esperanza trembles. Marisol, this is dangerous. You are provoking fate. Marisol shakes her head. Fate is already set. I am only finishing what he started. She holds needle 35. Her fingers brush the doll's neck. Isabella didn't scream, she murmurs. She only whispered. That she loved freedom. Don Thiago's jaw locks. He feels something shift, something internal cracking. He bites his tongue before speaking, as though words might betray weakness. You think your little games weaken me? He hisses. Marisol's gaze sharpens. You weaken yourself by remembering what you buried? She sinks the next needle into the doll's neck. His hand instinctively rises to his own throat, as though constricted not hurt, but suffocated by memory. Catalina whispers, horrified, Master, why do you react? He snaps, I react to nothing. But the truth is visible in his trembling lip, his tightened jaw, his unsteady breath. Marisol gently holds the doll to her chest, embracing it like a child, like a friend. Isabella lives here now, she says quietly, in every choice you can no longer make. She lifts needle 36, poised, patient. His power does not bleed away, it suffocates silently, thread by thread, memory by memory. Marisol lifts the voodoo doll toward her chest. Needle 36 rests poised between her fingers. She presses its point into the doll's left ear, as if piercing the very secrets Don Thiago once demanded silence over. Raphael enters abruptly, holding a broken cargo ledger. Master, the port officials deny your shipments, they refuse your signature. Don Thiago jerks toward him. Impossible, they trade only through me, Raphael hesitates. They say your name is tainted. Don Thiago freezes. His name once a weapon, now spoken like a wound. Marisol's hands do not pause. She lifts needle 37, stroking the doll's head before pressing the needle slowly into the cloth temple. Names are borrowed, she murmurs. Reputation is earned. He stares at her. You think you can teach me? You think I care about whispers? You cared enough to hide her death, Marisol replies. She taps needle 38 against the doll's lower chin before sliding it in. His voice snaps. I hid nothing. She was weak. She could not follow order. Marisol looks directly at him, eyes steady. You crushed her because she refused to break. Catalina steps closer to him in alarm. Master, leave this room. Let her finish somewhere else. No, he insists, though the word trembles in his throat. If she wants to stare at me, let her. She has no power. Marisol holds needle 39. It hovers above the doll's chest. Power is not loud, she whisper states. It remembers. It waits. Esperanza grips her apron. Master, maybe we should talk to the officials, apologize? Apologize? He roars, then coughs mid-word, the sound rough and unsmooth. Never, I don't bow to gossip. Marisol's voice is soft as she slides the needle into the doll's chest. You will bow to truth. Don Thiago's legs tense involuntarily, drawing a faint tremor. You're threatening me. No, she says, raising needle 40. You're threatening yourself? By finally feeling what you've tried to forget. She taps the doll gently as if soothing it. Isabella remembered kindness. You taught her brutality. Raphael exchanges nervous glances with Catalina. Master, is any of this coincidence? Coincidence? Don Thiago spits the word as if it burns. A stupid doll can't. His voice cuts short. His hand clutches the table's edge again, not with pain, but panic. Marisol leans slightly toward him. You are unraveling because your past pulls at you. All I do is hold the thread. Catalina touches Don Thiago's sleeve, voice shaking. Master, the more she remembers, the weaker you look. Don Thiago glares at Marisol, eyes narrowed with a fear he refuses to name. You think I regret anything? She was nothing but a servant. Marisol holds needle 41, steady as a promise. Servants feel, servants breathe, servants dream. And she dreamed beyond these walls. He slams his fist down again, weaker this time. She dreamed of disobedience. Marisol presses the needle into the doll's throat, slow and even. She dreamed of living, and you answered with silence. His breath shortens, as if smothered by a memory too heavy to deny. Raphael steps back. Master, please sit, you're pale. He refuses, though his body betrays him by leaning toward the chair. I do not obey. Marisol's voice rises just enough to be heard clearly. Isabella said those same words? You punished her for speaking them. He stares. She holds the doll like a friend, a witness, a voice returned. She grips needle 42. The master who silenced a girl now hears her echoing through the servant he cannot command. Marisol lifts the voodoo doll toward her chest. Needle 42 rests lightly between her fingers, its tip pointed with intention but no haste. She presses it into the doll's right forearm, pushing slowly, as if carving truth into fabric. Valerio reappears, holding a sealed letter. Master, the merchants rejected your appeal. They will not trade, they say. They fear association with you. Don Thiago's jaw tightens. Fear? Of me? Valerio nods shakily. They think something follows you. Don Thiago's eyes widen only slightly, but Marisol sees it. She lifts needle 43 and taps it against the doll's stitched cheek before sliding it into place. Something does follow you, she murmurs. A voice you ignored. Catalina gasps. Master, she curses you openly. No, Marisol corrects calmly. I simply listen, he points at her angrily. You listen to ghosts? To lies? She was weak. You are weak. You all break. Marisol holds needle 44. Her fingers do not tremble. We break only when someone wants us silent. She sinks the needle into the doll's jawline. Don Thiago swallows hard, not in pain, but like someone choking on his own past. Esperanza steps closer, whispering, Master, she's not hurting you. You're hurting yourself remembering her. Silence, Don Thiago shouts, voice cracking. She disobeyed. She mocked me. She laughed when I commanded her to work. She thought she was better than her position. Marisol lifts another needle, 45. She traces the outline of the doll's chest slowly. She thought she was human. That was her only rebellion. The needle sinks in, a small push, a breath, it lands. He grips his forehead, strained. You speak as if she mattered. She was dust. Marisol looks at him, gaze piercing but soft. Dust does not disappear when you step on it. It clings to your shoes. It follows you everywhere. Raphael stares at Don Thiago. Master? Maybe the merchants know more than we think. Maybe they know about Isabella. Don Thiago turns pale. No one knows. No one saw? His voice drops abruptly. He realizes what he just confessed, too loudly, too quickly. Marisol picks up needle 46. I saw. Her words slice deeper than any blade. He steps back, breath shallow. You were a child, he mutters. You were nothing. And now I remember, she replies. She slides the needle into the doll's lower spine. That makes me everything you fear. Catalina clutches her chest. Master, she is controlling you. You must stop her. I cannot, he whispers before he can stop himself. The admission escapes, raw and unguarded. Marisol lifts needle 47. You cannot because you built your power on silence. Now silence speaks. He stumbles into the chair he swore he would not use, driven not by pain but by the weight of being seen, truly seen for the first time. Valerio steps away from him slowly, as though afraid his presence alone might trigger collapse. Master, the officials will question us soon? About everything. Don Thiago's head droops. No, they can't. They cannot question the past. Marisol presses the needle gently into the doll's temple, like placing memory exactly where it belongs. The past is here, Master, sitting beside you, breathing through you. He shuts his eyes tightly as if that could erase her words. Marisol cradles the doll to her heart, comforting it like a child. Isabella's voice cannot be buried. You taught her silence. I teach her memory. Needle 48 rests poised in her grasp. Every forgotten cruelty rises again when someone remembers without fear. Marisol lifts the voodoo doll toward her chest. Needle 48 rests between her fingers, thin and sharp as a whisper never spoken. She presses it into the doll's left wrist, slow and deliberate, as if guiding a restrained hand to truth. Raphael storms into the room. Master, the port guards demand answers. They want records of every punishment, every disappearance. Don Thiago's body jolts. Records? Why? Why now? Raphael shakes his head. They say someone reported you. The room stills. All eyes drift to Marisol. She does not look up. She lifts needle 49 and presses its edge against the doll's chin. Someone always reports when someone remembers. Catalina grips Don Thiago's sleeve. Master, we must protect the estate. Deny everything. Silence her, now. He turns, ready to bark the order, but something stops him. His eyes meet Marisol's. She is not afraid. She is not pleading. She is waiting. His voice catches. No command comes. Marisol continues. Needle 49 slides into the doll's chin. You silenced Isabella. You will not silence me. Don Thiago slams his hand on the desk. You are nothing but a slave. Your voice has no weight. No, Marisol replies, voice calm, heavy with truth. A slave's silence weighs the most. He trembles, not from physical pain, but from the knowledge that he no longer controls the narrative. Valerio whispers, Master. The officials also want Isabella's records. Don Thiago tries to stand, but his knees falter. There are no records. She disobeyed, she was punished, that is all. Marisol lifts needle 50. She holds it like a small blade of memory. Punishment is never all. It becomes the story you cannot escape. She pushes the needle into the doll's stomach, slow, unhurried. Don Thiago's voice drags, strained. You did not see everything. You don't know what happened. I know enough, Marisol answers. I know she begged not for mercy, but for freedom. Esperanza gasps. She begged, she spoke? Marisol nods slowly. She spoke with courage, not fear. Catalina looks horrified. Master, you punished a girl for dreaming? Don Thiago shouts, struggling to defend himself. She was laughing at me. She refused to work. She thought she was equal. Marisol holds the 51st needle, her voice cold yet mournful. She thought she was human. That frightened you more than disobedience. She drives the needle into the doll's side. Don Thiago grips the chair arm, knuckles pale, heart pounding, not from magic, but from truth clawing him open. Raphael whispers, Master. If the port knows, the authorities will know. They will come. Don Thiago whispers back, voice cracking. She can't do this to me. She already has, Marisol replies, not with curses, with memory. He looks at her with something he has never felt toward a servant fear. Not of harm, but of exposure. For the first time, his power feels like the one bound in chains. Marisol lifts needle 52, turning it slowly between her fingers. The day she died, she asked me to remember. She made me promise. He swallows hard. You promised a child? You ruin everything for a child? Marisol's voice softens, but it cuts deeper than any scream. You ruined yourself when you killed her hope. She presses the needle into the doll's chest again. Hope does not die quietly. His head lowers, he cannot speak. Words lose power when truth steals their breath. Marisol cradles the doll again, like holding a life he thought he erased. She whispers more to Isabella than to him. We are almost done. Needle 53 waits in her steady hand. He controlled her body, but her memory now controls his fate. Marisol lifts the voodoo doll toward her chest. Needle 53 gleams between her fingers, the final stage of a ritual stitched not by spirits, but by memory. She presses it gently into the doll's ribcage, slow and steady. It enters like a truth no one can outrun. Don Thiago watches her hand, eyes wide and hollow. Stop, he whispers, not commanding, but pleading. Marisol picks up needle 54. She does not look at him. You ordered silence from a girl who only wanted to live. You cannot ask silence from me now. He tries to stand. His legs tremble before lifting him halfway, then fail. He collapses into the chair again, breath rattling with panic. Not pain, not magic, fear. Valerio inches backward. Master. The authorities are on their way. The letter was received. They want testimony from the slaves. Catalina gasps. Testimony? They speak? They accuse? Marisol sinks needle 54 into the doll's hip. Silence does not last forever. Eventually, even obedience remembers its wounds. Don Thiago shakes his head violently. They have no proof. There is nothing written. Marisol lifts needle 55, brushing the doll's forehead. You made sure there was no record. And that is your confession. Esperanza covers her mouth. He punished her without record. No burial papers, no cause, no reason. Don Thiago grips the chair arms as if they could hold his collapsing world together. I did what I had to. She disobeyed. She laughed when she should have bowed. Marisol presses the needle gently into the doll's head. Maybe she wasn't laughing at you. Maybe she was laughing at the power you tried to force onto her life. He can no longer look her in the eyes. His voice shrinks, quieter with every breath. You twist everything. No, Marisol answers. I only finished the story you started. She holds the 56th needle. Her eyes soften, not with mercy, but with mourning. She didn't just die by your hand. She died by your fear. He wipes a bead of sweat from his brow, hands shaking as if each word carved him open. I wasn't afraid of her. She was nothing. She was stronger than you, Marisol replies. And you could not control strength that did not need permission to exist. Raphael steps quietly beside Marisol, no longer near Don Thiago. Master, the officials bring a judge? Don Thiago shuts his eyes tightly, as if darkness could hide him. No judge can condemn me. I am respected. I am... Not anymore, Marisol interrupts. She presses the 56th needle into the doll's heart, slow and final. Her voice is steady. Your respect ended the day you killed a girl who trusted you. He clutches his chest, not in pain but in realization. For the first time he sees what his cruelty built, a legacy of fear with no loyalty to protect it. Marisol places the doll gently on the table, as though laying a body to rest not with violence but dignity. She folds its hands together as if preparing it for burial. 100 needles are not a curse, they are a record. He looks at her, broken, not by force but by truth. What? What do you want from me? Marisol stands, her voice is quiet, final. I want you to face what you did, not with fear, but with memory. He lowers his head, unable to fight, unable to command. His authority collapses, not with rebellion, but with recognition. Marisol whispers toward the doll, toward the memory inside it. You are heard now, Isabella. Needle 57 waits, but she does not pick it up. She has already won. Justice arrives not through violence, but through a tyrant forced to remember the life he chose to erase.